Alright, finally to the curtain replacement stage. I have one strip of new curtain material made in Japan that I have already cut to the correct width, which is 32.5. It's a bit wider on this end just because my previous cut wasn't very precise apparently, but I have, or is it this end? I think it's this end. So 33 on this side and 32.5 on this side, but it's okay up until somewhere around here. So 32.5. That means this piece will be left out. Now, coincidentally, the total width of the curtain material sheet that I've got is 18.4 centimeters, and my total need of curtain material is about 174 millimeters. So I'll be left with something like this, so just over 1 centimeter when I'm done. I will not be cutting the individual two pieces now, because I always start with the second curtain, and the reason for that is the fact that the total length of the second curtain must be very precise. So what I will do, I will just glue this end, which is the correct width end. I'll glue it to the corresponding lathe. The ribbons have cleaned very nicely with a bit of nail polish remover. And also I need to make sure it's glued correctly, and that means it should be rubber side aligned with this part, so something like this, because it will be silk side towards the back of the camera, and since this one is on top of the first curtain while looking from the front of the camera, that means that this side should face the back of the camera because it will come in contact with the metal bar of the other curtain. So it should be something like this. Okay, so I've got this one here, and the drum will be on the other end. All right, let me measure it again. Yeah, I'm good. And I will also cut this little fiber that was coming loose. Alright, so first step would be to glue the curtain inside the metal bar. Now, since there is some thickness on the actual corner or edge of the metal bar, I will keep that in mind, so when I tape the material down, I will not align it to one of the lines, but I will leave it like this, so a bit further up, and I will try to make sure that this line is parallel to these lines more than this one, meaning the edge of the curtain material, to one of the horizontal lines, because I would like to have a curtain that's as perfectly parallel to the horizontal axis of the camera as possible. It's not very important, but it does it does matter a bit when you get to gluing it to the drum, because if it's a bit unparalleled, when the material is glued to the drum, you will get more, how should I say it, you'll get an offset. So on one end of the drum you'll have excess material, on the other end of the drum you'll have material that's not aligned with the edge of the drum. Alright, so not quite right yet. So pretty much something like this. Okay, and then when I will get the metal bar on this one, I think this one is contaminated. Okay, better. So when you'll get the cutting material inside the metal bar, you will see the edge of the metal bar, this line, and you will be able to actually move the bar around until the edge of the bar is parallel to this line. This line is perpendicular to this line, and therefore it's perpendicular to the long axis of the cutting material. All right. Now, what should you use to glue the curtains? Well, pretty much any kind of contact cement. For the time being I'm using B7000. I will probably get a plyo bond at some point, being regarded as the best in business for such an application. But for the time being I'm fine with this B7000. One good thing is that it cleans very nicely from the rubber side of the cutting material, so in case I need to re-glue it, let's say on the drum, you simply peel it off, wipe with your glove, wipe the old glue, and it lifts off super cleanly. Okay, so I'll apply some glue inside. That I will spread around. And now I will try to position it in such a way that it's parallel. Now some air evaporates the solvent in the glue faster, and that means it will get tacky a bit faster, otherwise you need to wait. Alright, now make sure you have pretty much equal distances from the edges of the cutting material to the edges or the inner edges of the ribbons. So pretty much the curtain is centered inside the metal bar, and it's pretty much centered, maybe just a bit like that. Now if I push forward, You see, the metal bar sits like this. So right now the cutting material went all the way inside. So I need to something like that. All right. Then you could use something like this. I think it's a plastic craft spatula or something, and you can use it to push down on the material so that it sticks to the metal. Okay, make further corrections if needed, because now you need to close the metal bar, and from my experience most errors occur in this phase because you can't really push on this edge. You need to push like this, and when you do that things can shift around. One option would be to simply wait, so wait until at least the lower contact between the material and the metal has set, but I don't like to wait too much, so I will close it now. And to close it I could either use that butcher's knife, which has very rigid and broad blade, but I can also use this. So I'm not even gonna try to explain because it's quite straightforward, but it needs some feel. So you kind of need to feel that things go down in one straight motion, not jagged. And there you are. Now right now I need to press it even more to make sure the metal clamps the curtain as much as possible. And in order to do that I sometimes use pliers. I could use this one, but it's kind of small. I could also use this one. Obviously don't pinch on the metal bar, use something in between. I could use two of these, so I can get one beneath one on top, and now I could squeeze along. And it looks pretty good. Okay, sometimes when opening the bars, the metal bars, when cleaning the metal bars, or even you could even find them from previous work done on the camera or even from the factory. You can find that they are not straight, so they have a bend in them. This one is pretty straight. The other one, I think it had a bend. No, I'm confusing it. Anyhow, if there is any kind of bend in the metal bar, you could use something to roll it straight, if that's the correct term for that. And I usually use my craft knife. You could use the end of a screwdriver. I even use at times this end that rotates. So put it down and like a rolling pin, move it up and down or left to right. Then most of the times you need to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. So it's pretty much like a miniature English wheel. I think it's the English wheel that bends sheet metal into round spherical shapes. Alright, and next I have to close the two little ends if they will not break. If they break, you will see them falling off. So one is done. And the other is done, and look, see, it fell off. So pretty much I only have one left on this side. It doesn't really matter. What I will do is round off a bit the edge. All right. Now I can finally cut the curtain to the correct length. And if you get any extra or excess glue on the other side, you can just easily and carefully scrape it off. Okay, and for the second curtain I have 99 the length. So 99 is somewhere around here at this line. I always measure in 2 points, draw a line, and then re-measure to the line and see if the correct cutting point is on the line, slightly on one side of the line or on the other side of the line, so I can still make slight adjustments and compensate for whatever error in drawing the line I had. So that is good. This is also good, so I will cut right through the middle. And now I will re-measure 99 and 99. So we are good to go with this one. Okay, now since I don't know if my initial marking on the second curtain drum is correct, I will use what I consider now being the correct way, and that is double side tape. And I will have to realign the metal bar to one of the horizontal lines on my mat as precisely as possible. You'd be surprised how precise this needs to be in order to have the perfect gap, as in parallelism, between the two curtains. So any kind of error here will screw up the rest of the work. All right, and let's see if I get it straight. Sometimes it's easier to work with the contact cement because you can pull the material until it fits correctly. Now, once you have it glued in position, you can roll it while keeping it tight, and you can actually see if the edge of the drum is parallel to one of the other lines, and it looks pretty parallel. Alright, so that is That is good. Now move it upwards, stick it again to parallel to one of the lines, and now you have to glue the two ribbons. I think I need to go even higher. Okay, so now the two ribbons will be glued to their spring-loaded roller. Now the old marks can still be visible, so this was the glued part on the lower ribbon, and this was on the upper ribbon, but I think this was an excess mark or glue mark, and the actual position is somewhere around here. So if the lower one is here and the upper one, yeah, it's very close to the edge. I will use a bit of Teflon tape. So this is Teflon tape used in cooking. You put it in your tray in the oven, and I will simply cut a piece. That I will stick under the two ribbons, and now I can smudge the glue without it going over on the mat and then sticking the ribbon to the mat. It's better to start off with a smaller length of glue and apply more after the initial part has set. Otherwise you might be using too much. Hopefully I use just the right amount. Okay, and now here comes the tricky part. Where did I put? Oh, Jesus. The tricky part in getting this correctly on both ribbons. Okay, seems pretty good to me. So this edge of the roller needs to be aligned to one of the lines. It seems spot on. And now I will have to slowly Good. Now I obviously overshot with the glue, but I think the ribbons were a bit too long anyway, and it's very easy to see if I'm right or wrong. How should I put this? So um, this is the hole for the shaft of the first curtain. This is the hole of the shaft of the second curtain. So the second curtain must go from here to here, approximately, let's say, 2 centimeters maximum, and then from here to wherever the curtain must stop, and it should stop at around, let's say, a maximum of 5. So 2 plus 5 is 7. Now I need to have 7 from the edge of the metal bar in order to have enough ribbon available. And 7 is right at the end of my gluing of my glue on the ribbons. So in theory I could glue it all the way and I would be safe. Now in worst case scenario I will unglue a bit of the ribbons and that should be fine. Alright, right now we have in theory the second curtain re-glued. I also need to get this thing back, and I also need to get its cap. And the cap is the pointy one, so it's this one. Now before getting the shaft inside the roller, I will need to glue, not glue, Jesus, to oil. I will need to oil, so to lubricate this spring. And I will use some knife oil. And I will just spread around. Maybe this is not such a good idea with a Q-tip. You will also need to oil this, so this area, the pivoting point, on both sides. I usually do that right before getting everything inside, so right before mounting the shutter for good, because since I'm in this exploratory phase, trying to see if my markings and my measurements are correct, I will go back and forth with these parts of the shutter, and what usually happens, I get oil on my fingers and put it on the shutter curtain, which I do not want to happen. So for the time being, I will only oil the inside spring, because that's something that I will not reach for again since I tightened the little cap. Oiling this point and that point can be done right at the end. I'm not going to load the shutter or tense the shutter as if it was going through its final adjustment stages, so it really doesn't matter when I'm oiling it. Good, so this was curtain number 2 in its provisional state, and I can move to curtain number 1. I will not be filming that part because it's identical. What needs to be taken into consideration is that if this is the curtain, in my case this end will be inside the metal bar, because this end is a bit wider, and I think I will just cut it again because my blade is a bit tired. And I like to have a clean cut. So like that. Now, should it happen that the available length now is less than what I initially measured, so less than 74 millimeters, it's okay, it doesn't matter, because this one goes to one of the rollers, so the length is not that important as long as it's decently close. I still have 85, so yeah, I will be having 1 centimeter of extra material. Now this is the first curtain. It should be like this, so under the second curtain, and that means it should also be glued to the metal bar like this. So the metal bar will be having the 2 little ribbons showing through the metal bar on the underside. So in other words, rubber side towards the shiny side. I call it shiny side. And that's all there is to it. Of course, in this case, this is actually sitting like this, and this was like this. This end goes to the smaller of the 2 rollers, while these 2 go on the large take-up rollers on the main shaft according to the scratch marks or the scratch lines. And this goes to the lower one, this one goes to the upper one, and I will also cut that little piece of material. Alright, that is pretty much it with replacing the curtains. How I do it and what I take notice of and what I'm paying attention to. In the next part I will be starting to get things back on track, and if all goes well it will be reassembly time after I check that this is correct, and after I will reglue it permanently. Alright, thank you, happy holidays, see you next time.